Hey guys, welcome to LawnCareMadeEasy.com. I'm Zach Stroud. Today we're going to talk about cutting your lawn during the heat of the summer. Okay, I had a neighbor that called me over to their home, and they had just had their lawn care provider over, and they cut the lawn. Now the lawn is burned up. So I'm going to show you some pictures and tell you some remedies that you can do if this happens. So I'll be right back, and we'll talk about it. Okay, guys, let's talk about the story a little bit. So, as I mentioned, they had a lawn care provider that had come over and cut their lawn. Now, before this happened, we were getting a lot of rain. Okay, so we'd had probably about 3 or 4 days of really hot weather. This is back beginning of July. We had probably about 2 or 3 days of like 108 to 110 temperatures. And what that did is that was really causing a lot of stress on a lot of plants, on a lot of grass. I actually lost a butterfly bush during that week because of the high temperatures that we experienced. So the lawn care company, they came and they cut the grass during that time. We hadn't had any rain probably in about a week before that. So the lawn was really starting to dry out. So what they did is they went ahead and mowed it. Now I usually, cut my lawn at about 3 to 4 inches during this time of hot weather in July. And South Carolina is really hot and dry during July, August, and the 1st of September. And then we start getting some cooler weather and some rain may come in. But during those times, I usually just cut it high if it needs to be cut. We have so much humidity in the air that sometimes I still need to cut the lawn. Here are the pictures that I'd taken that I want to show you. So the first picture is, I just went over there and just took this picture, and you can see all the brown spots. Now you wouldn't believe it, but a couple of days or even a week before the lawn care company came, this was lush green. It was beautiful. Me and my wife were talking about how pretty the grass was, and it was really, really nice. You can see some of the green spots in there, but they cut it down to about 2 inches, and they just stressed this lawn out. So this next one we have, this is another part of the yard. That big, large area right there in the front next to the hose is off to the right there. You can see that big, large patch. You didn't see any of this the week before because I was actually admiring it, how pretty it was looking, because this sod was laid about a year, close to a year ago now, that they had sod laid, and it was really, really coming along great. But now it's just stressed out. And during this time, if we don't get some rain, because they don't have irrigation, if they don't get some rain soon, or some water on that, a large amount of water, probably about, I'm looking at maybe 30 minutes a day in each zone that they have. I just told them to kind of split this up over the next few days and just water those areas, and then just start all over with different zones in the yard. But this area right here, I went over there and just kind of scrubbed it with my hand on the ground, and it really took a beating. So this is towards the road, and you can see all the little patches of brown there that just stress the lawn out really bad. But you also have some green in there, and I know those areas will be fine, but I just don't know about the rest of it unless they can really get a lot of water on it. And here's another picture of another part of the lawn that is just brown all the way through. So what I told them to do over here, it didn't happen. It didn't hurt it too much, but this gets some shade over here in this area because of those pine trees. Part of the house will shade it as well, but you can see that it gets a little bit more shade than the front of the lawn does, because it really, that front part really gets the heat of the day, which is probably around 5 all the way to 7 o'clock. And here's another part, another angle. And so the whole yard just ended up looking really, really, really bad after that. So what I told them to do was to water those zones like I just talked about 30 minutes each day. Okay. If you can hit it in the morning pretty early before the sun starts to beat down on it, because we're still at this, what is it, July 13th. So we're still getting a lot of those hot days, dry days. Had a little bit of rain, but not much. Even though they have been doing what I told them to do, which is put a watering system on it, just a wand of some sort or anything you can put on there to get that ground moist again and get that grass back to where it's kind of healthy again. But at this point, they may, if we don't get some rain soon, they may end up losing some of those areas. And that's when your weeds start popping up. So that's why I always say during this time, if you have wherever you live, if you have a dry time, if you have a really, really hot time of the year that's really going to put a hurting on your lawn, it's better to cut it about 4 inches and let those roots just be shaded. And I talked about that in another video of mine. Let those roots be shaded from that sun. Okay, there's no reason to cut it short, especially if you have zoysia. Bermuda can take a pretty good beating. Centipede is kind of like zoysia. You risk of it dying. And if it dies, then you get that, you start getting weeds and stuff like that coming up. So try to get some water. I'm told her to try to get some water on there, probably about 30 minutes a day. Really soak that ground really good. I told them to even get kind of like a rain gauge and put that in that area that they're sprinkling, make sure they're getting about 1 inch on there. But I went and looked at it yesterday or a day before, and this was probably about a week ago when these pictures were taken, and it was still taking a good beating. So what I'm telling you guys is, if you don't have to cut it, don't cut it. And if you do cut it at about 4 inches if this is your hot time of the year. Okay, if you're really getting a lot of hot sun, you're getting those 95 to 100 degrees or even hotter, just cut your grass, cut it high, and that way you get a lot of that shade on those roots that'll protect your grass. Okay, so another thing that she could do was she could kind of rake up those areas that have that dead grass, kind of get that out of the way, and kind of get that way you can get a little bit more water on there. But really getting the water on there is key here. If you're dealing with this problem, this is a good way to combat that. If you've had this problem, if you cut it too short and now you're trying to backtrack, try to get as much water on there as you can. I think nighttime, especially for a warm season lawn, and if you have a lot of sun during the day, nighttime is the best time to get some water on that, especially when the sun just drops. Hit it with some water. Usually in the next morning, you'll see a big difference. So I hope this video helps you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you guys.